I'm sure a lot of us have had those few sessions when playing a rhythm game where everything just kinda clicks. Your hands or legs feel great, you're popping off scores left and right, and it feels like you've progressed 6 months ahead of your current skill in a matter of just one session. Some people call this a god session, god mode, a skill boost, whatever you want to call it. Plenty of players have experienced it, and these sessions seem to come out of nowhere a lot of the times. They're not really planned ever, and just kinda happen on a whim where everything just feels right. The session we're going to be taking a look at, however, is an exception to this rule. This was a calculated, well-executed session that will go down as a statement in the Mania community, rhythm games in general, and perhaps will serve as a bigger lesson moving forward with rhythm game communities as well. Before we take a look at this session, let's take a look back before this all started. This is the story of Wonder5193's legendary live session on October 5th, 2019. The earliest footage that seems to exist of Wonder is one of his live sessions from August 25th, 2017. He was good a couple of years ago, but not necessarily a top player. He had a fairly good grasp on 7 key and 4 key, as he was luminal in 4 key, and he was putting up pretty respectable scores in 7 key. Fast forward to around late 2018 for the 4 key Mania World Cup, and I actually had the chance to meet Wonder in a tournament and witness his skills firsthand. I had heard his name around before, but I didn't know a whole lot about him, as my main game is Eterna, so I never quite kept up with the rising stars in Oceania. The USA followed this structure this year. We had a few LN specialists, a few SV specialists, some hybrids, and then I tried to pull my weight on the speed, jack, and stamina-oriented picks. Needless to say, Wonder gave me a run for my money. I took the occasional MVP from him, but his tournament consistency was second to none, and I struggled to keep up with him for the most part, which gave the Koreans a huge advantage. There was a brand new player looking to take some names, and his potential was insane, and he displayed that very well during both matches against the USA team. I realized he was really making a name for himself in the 4 key scene. That's not to say his 7 key skills aren't extremely good as well, but his 4 key scores shine a bit brighter. And if you look at his YouTube channel, he uploads a lot more 4 key than 7 key plays as well. It was after the 2018 4 key Mania World Cup that he would begin to upload a slew of scores left and right, especially during the beginning of 2019, such as his 98.53 on the Reformed Delta Dan, 99.83 on Good Tech Double Time, and the first ever double S on II. It was evident that he wasn't slowing down anytime soon, and he was progressing extremely fast throughout the next few months. Perhaps too fast according to some. After a few months of Wonder tearing this game apart, obtaining a good chunk of his best scores to date and in the game in general, he uploaded a video on February 7th, 2019 titled "I'm Not Cheater." According to some Korean players, this video sparked due to people discussing Wonder's legitimacy on the site Naver Cafe, a Korean social media site. I was told by a couple top Korean players that a fair amount of the things said were unnecessarily mean and crude, and what could have been legitimate skepticism turned into these harsh remarks. This is thought to be why a good majority of these posts are no longer available on the cafe site. The genuine, thought-out skepticism towards Wonder was justified, as a skill progression like this is very rare, but it seemed to get a bit more out of hand than that. Nonetheless, the footage was as raw and legitimate as it could be, and things seemed to remain as normal throughout the next few months. On July 23, 2019, top Oceania player JHLee0133 returned to the scene after a year-and-a-half hiatus from the site and from the Mania scene in general. Just a few months after his return, on September 8, 2019, he posted a 99.19% 961k score on the infamous Delta Reform Dan course, a 4-map course that even some of the best players struggle with at times and would dominate Wonder's old record of 98.53% 933k. Exactly 1 week later, Wonder would beat the score by 6,000 points with a 99.43% 967k, a solid improvement from JHLee's score. This score would receive astute appraisal on YouTube, and Wonder was once again at the very top and solidified his mark as one of the best. About a week later, a myriad of threads regarding Wonder's Delta video began to emerge on the site DC Inside, an anonymous Korean forum posting site, and he eventually felt the need to post a statement on YouTube regarding his Delta score and his other top scores that people believed to be illegitimate. Quote, "I have done live plays twice, but after that, I didn't because live play was not my style. But I also knew you were all disappointed about that. I always uploaded my live plays with handcam, except Delta 99.43%. Other top players get good scores during live plays, but I don't, so I think there is always suspicion because of that. I am really sorry that I can't clearly settle your suspicion about my videos. I have always played over 100 solo plays in IISS and Delta 99.43% that you doubt, and uploaded the best scores. And I live played several times 1 year ago, but the scores were not good. Some minutes later, I turned off the broadcast, and maybe I think those suspicions were getting bigger because you were disappointed with my 1 year ago bad broadcast. However, even though I worried about it for a long time, I don't want to stream at all. I will accept all the doubts and criticisms that arrive from this. Also, the next video will also be with a real-time handcam and a task manager. I wonder if that was the answer you wanted. Thank you for the comments." One person would post this statement onto DC Inside with the caption, "Top players usually get their best scores in their best condition, not hundreds of plays like Wonder's explanation says. If you play hundreds of times, you'll get worse because of curse and slump. Also, Task Manager and videos are easy to manipulate, handcam can be sped up, and he can show recorded videos on the monitor screen, not the real play. It would be very easy with Wonder's great thumbnail skills. After all, Wonder can only prove his innocence with broadcasting." Comments on this thread more or less reiterated similar concerns, but were a bit harsher with their wording. More and more threads began popping out left and right, and he was now slowly becoming a target on the site. Things began to ramp up even more after this, because just 2 days later, a top player was indisputably caught cheating. On September 27, 2019, a video titled "Space's Cheater" was released by top O2 Jam player Teward, or known as Windy S. The video exposes Korean O2 Jam player Space for using a cheating program to obtain top-tier scores. Space was already known as a top player at one point, not being too far from the likes of Windy, Jip05040, and Chunsarn, so it was rather shocking to see a player of this caliber cheat to this degree. A comment on the video from Space himself apologizes and admits to using a program that slows down the notes in order to obtain the scores that were in question in the video, and more examples that were not shown in the video. Some of these scores still exist today, but only on the Chinese video site Bilibili, as his YouTube channel has now been completely wiped of any content. This video led many people in the Korean community to question Wonder's legitimacy even more, and they again severely doubted his abilities as a player. Wonder would eventually post again on the YouTube community tab, stating that he would be live streaming on this upcoming Saturday, and also stating that despite his 99.4 on Delta, that they shouldn't expect him to get it on command, and that he will continue to live stream until he gets the scores he is satisfied with. He would then upload a test run of what his setup would look like on October 3rd, 2019, titled Test 123. It was a 3-map video playing some of the maps he achieved some of his best scores on. While he was a bit off his mark from his number ones on Planet Shaper and Cyber Inductance Double Time, these were still extremely good scores, and it looked like he was ready to go. Then, just a couple days later, he officially goes live. There's virtually zero hesitation with this session. It's highly likely that Wonder warmed up off stream, but he just logs in and gets right into it. Live spectators, live chat, this is as real as it gets, and he starts off strong with a number 1 on Planet Shaper Double Time, a map filled with many jacks and even vibro at times.
Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, let it rock, let it rock, let it rock.
He ends up with 919k, decimating the number 2 score. After a very short break, Cyber Induction Double Time, 287 dense jump stream that never holds back, and he gets 982k with only a few misses. Another short break, and he 99's free to bet double time, a chord jack war zone with tricky one-hand trills and mitts, and yet again creates another gap between him and second place. His cycle hit double time score is the only score that had a reset, and he still manages to PB. Then, the map everyone had been waiting for. His session had been going amazing so far, and now everyone's attention was directed at the map that really got his name out there. II. Not only did he pull off the first double S of this map, but he managed to do it again in a livestream setting on command, and was not far off his personal best at all. Wonder had nothing but momentum at this point, and this was a type of stamina and consistency that not many had ever seen. This was actually the only real break he took, as it looks like he steps away from the screen to take a breather and keep his cool for the next few maps, which were the Delta Reform Dan, Forgotten 1.4 from the Epsilon Dan, and, well, the Epsilon Dan itself. While he didn't beat his own PB, he still managed to beat JH Lee's best by a couple thousand points, and actually FC'd the Future Dominators 1.3 cut too. Forgotten 1.4 went well with another S, and he went on to almost S the Epsilon Dan as well. To put into perspective how even more insane this session is, I decided to do a bit of math to give you guys a clear visual. Between these 8 songs, his total time in general was 38 minutes and 54 seconds. His playing time, however, was 35 minutes and 39 seconds, and the amount of breaks he took totaled approximately 3 minutes and 30 seconds, give or take a few seconds if you count super easy beginnings of maps as the break. This comes to an average of 30 seconds per map through some of the hardest maps this game has to offer, and with almost all number 1s as well. The rest of the session wasn't exactly as jaw-dropping as the last 40 minutes were, as he seemed notably tired for the rest of the maps he played, but he managed to close out an okay Pine Nut run with an amazing first half as the final map in this session. A few moments later, the stream ends, and everyone is just shocked at what they witnessed. Just an amazing session overall, and I was grateful to have witnessed it firsthand when it happened. Since then, there has virtually been no actual suspicion against Wonder's play, and today, he reigns as the top player he always knew he was. As I was editing this video, Wonder had posted a community post on his YouTube channel. The announcement portion reads, "I'll no longer be active on YouTube. It is because I have no interest in it, but also I feel there is a lot of work to do in my real life. Thank you to all of my subscribers for giving me your attention for a short period. Also, when I logged out from my YouTube account 4 months ago, I deleted some messenger programs such as Discord. So because of that, I apologize for not replying back to the messages that were sent to me. Thank you. I had so much fun." With this post, this seems like the end of Wonder's short but amazing journey as a top Mania player, and brought a lot of exciting scores and fun competition to the Mania scene. His live session was as authentic and raw as it could get, and he managed to shatter plenty of records in the process. This was a session to remember not just for the Mania community, but one of the strongest statements I think rhythm games will see for a while, and that goes for a plethora of his scores as well. This session, however, has another side to it. On one hand, it was amazing to see Wonder prove himself as a legitimate player and destroy this game in front of a live audience, But on the other hand, he was also in the spotlight perhaps a lot more than he wanted to be. And this seemed to build up quite a bit behind almost everyone's backs that weren't specifically involved in the Korean Mania community. After talking to someone who is or was close with Wonder at one point, he stated that he suffered a fair amount of emotional distress, and that he just wanted to calmly take care of the situation to mitigate any accusations and potential harassment anymore. Whether these posts came from DC Inside, Cafe, Discord, it seemed like all this was extremely overwhelming for Wonder, and as someone who was notably put off by his lack of communication specifically, the rationale behind it makes much more sense now, and I apologize on my own behalf if I may have accidentally contributed in any negative way in the past, no matter how minor. The notion of not believing someone's skill is totally reasonable as long as you have clear and concise reasons to back these claims up, along with some sort of community agreement, notably from perhaps top players or developers of the game. The methods to proving a player's legitimacy can be extremely tricky depending on the game, but the hardest thing to accept is that it is ultimately up to the player themselves if they want to go through the steps to prove themselves. You can't force someone to, and while you are entirely entitled to voice your skepticism, please never resort to anything beyond that and things will resolve themselves eventually. Or let the proper people handle the situation calmly, as jealousy and anger should never be the motives behind these measures taken. Again, there is no objective solution to getting rid of cheaters in most rhythm games, so it is best if these things are handled in a mature and coherent manner, and to never form groups to target individuals, even if at worst they seem to be wanting attention from it. As Wonder said in his first proof video, "Don't judge me as a cheater just out of pure assumption, and stop criticizing me from a baseless guess." I will say it again for emphasis, suspicion per se is not wrong, and I'll accept it any time, but please do not cross that line. But to end the video on a more positive note, Wonder's profile leaves a quote that will forever represent how much he enjoyed you all during his short YouTube career, and that is, "Thank you for always supporting me." I'd like to thank the Korean players that helped me out tremendously with translating and gathering resources for this video. Out of respect, I am keeping their names private, but their efforts are highly acknowledged. I'd also like to thank my patrons for supporting the channel, and if you would like to support the channel yourself for more rhythm gaming content, feel free to check out my Patreon along with my other links below. I'll see you on whatever video I upload next, and take care.
Blue bloody missing
score.
there.
Look at that score by Wonder.
It's
900.
It's shrinking to 30,000.
No, but
It's
all the
shrinking, but it's
LMs are
not
out of
enough
the
time.
way. South
Yeah,
Korea
that's-
is going to win.
975 Oh my god, Wonder.
75.
Basically, we could just give the title to Wonder here, as he gets a one misplay on Raise Musation. 974,000 points. Korea, once again, despite the biggest efforts from Brazil, are crowned champions of the Osumania 4Key World Cup 2019. It's an incredible fight, but not quite enough for Brazil to take it.